Hello, it's Miss Reimann. I wanted to teach you a little bit about area. So area has a close relationship with something we call perimeter. Now, we learned about perimeter already, and perimeter is the distance around, and area is all of the stuff on the inside, but specifically squares on the inside. So I like to think about perimeter as this black line, like a black fence around a yard. And then on the inside is all of the grass inside the yard broken apart into squares. So there you can see that I have my black perimeter, my fence around the yard, the distance around, and then I have the area, which is my grass inside, broken apart into squares. Because area, you are going to find out, is square pieces all in the same space. So we're going to learn about area. Area, as I said, is the squares inside. Squares inside of what? Squares inside of a rectangle or any other polygon, but specifically we are going to work on rectangles. So area, squares inside of a rectangle. So what do we need first? We need a rectangle, right? So I'm going to draw a rectangle here. All right. Now here I have a rectangle. So now I'm going to find the area, but I need to know a couple of things first. I don't see any squares in here, and I don't see anything that tells me how many. So I'm gonna just pick a number and I'm gonna make squares. I'm gonna divide it into squares. All right, so now I've divided this rectangle into squares. Next thing that I need to do is I need to count the squares. This kind of will hopefully remind you about multiplying, because finding the area of a rectangle is very similar to an array of a rectangle. Hint, hint. So here we have this side, and you can see that I have drawn 3 squares on this side. So this one is 3. And going across here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 squares going across the bottom. So now in order to find my rectangle's area, I need to do a little formula. And that formula is length times my width. All right, so the length of my rectangle is right here, 4. And the width of my rectangle is right here, 3. So then I can set up my equation, 4 times 3. And now I can figure out my area of this rectangle. So all I need to know is my multiplication facts of 4 times 3, and I know that that would be 12. Now, we don't know what unit this is, so we are going to leave it as 12 units. But 12 units, well, it's not just all one big long string of feet, inches, or units. No, they are squares on the inside. So I have to say units square or units to the second power like this. Units square. All right, let's do another example. I wrote our formula up here for area. Area equals length times the width. So here I see this rectangle. I can see that this rectangle is 3 units and 1 unit. So my length is 3 times 1 equals 3. Now once again, I do not have feet, inches, meters, so I write my answer with the label of units square. That's how I find the area, my length times my width. Here is another example of a rectangle that we are going to find the area of. You can see though, this rectangle does not have any squares on the inside. What it does have for us though is it has its measurement. The top part of this rectangle has 5 inches, and going down along the side it says, if I rotate it, 6 inches. So we know the measurement of this rectangle on each side, and so we don't even need the squares on the inside to determine the area. All we have to do is follow our formula. We need to find our length, which is 6, times our width, which is 5, and we know that 6 times 5 equals 30. Now this is in inches, so I want to label with inches. And I can abbreviate inches by showing IN. And this is talking about how many squares I can fit on the inside here. So I need to show that with the label of the 2 up here. Noticing the 2 is smaller than the 3 and the 0. And it's also smaller than the word inches. Well, there aren't squares in here, so what I can do though is I can break it apart on my own to show those 30 square inches on the inside. So I need to break this side apart into 6 equal parts going up and down, and then I need to go across into 5 equal parts to make this a 6 by 5 rectangle, and to show how many squares that I should be on the inside, which should be 30 if I break it apart correctly. There, I broke it apart correctly, and you can see that I have 6 squares going down for my length, and I have 5 squares going across for my width. And you can also see that when I divided this rectangle into squares, that I have exactly 30. So let's count them. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, because that's how many square inches are in this rectangle. That is a 6 by 5 rectangle. So area is talking about the length and the width to find all of the square parts on the inside. Next, we're going to find some real life examples, and those include some examples inside and outside my house.